move your feet until they start to bleed. DJ, take it away. Tonight is all for you and me. So baby, spin and let the music begin. I know you feel it within. So go ahead and just spin for me. Won't you spin? Don't let the doubt in you win. I know you feel it within. So go ahead and just spin for me. Won't you? I know it's hard for you to give it a try, but you are not alone. I'm here with you. I think you owe it to this beautiful night to lose all your control. Do it for you. Let me show you a place where you gon' wanna move your feet until they start to bleed. DJ, take it away. Tonight is all for you and me. So baby, spin and let the music begin. I know you feel it within. So go ahead and just spin for me. Won't you spin? Don't let the doubt in you win. I know you feel it within. So go ahead and just spin for me. Won't you? Don't be afraid. Just let go of your fears, 'cause you know you can do it, baby. Dance them away. Now you know how it feels. Now you know you can do it, baby. And let the music begin. I know you feel it within. So go ahead
Here we go. We are back for another morning skate with the hockey coach Guru, coach franchise directly for the Sunshine State in Florida. Welcome back, everybody. Thanks for joining us. This is the last day of March 2022, and today we have a special guest. We're going to have Mr. Russ Cohen. I apologize for that one over there. Mr. Russ Cohen is going to join us, and about 10 minutes. Is going to be with us talking about the NHL prospect, talking about the Flyers, talking about everything happening around the league. Russ going to be with us. I can't wait to have Mr. Cohen with us. He is the one, he's the founder of the company called SPORTSOLOGY. You can find him on the www.sportsology.com or on the Twitter account under his nickname SPORTSOLOGY. But I can wait to see Mr. Russ with us the next part, possible the next 10-15 minutes, going to join us for the next 45 minutes after that. I'm going to finish the show today with, of course, the Frenchie quiz under or over. So thanks to join us today. Hopefully you have an amazing, great day, and we have already set up for you many questions today you have for Mr. Russ. But welcome Mr. Untitled, Mr. Insider of the warm-up show, also a co-host with the Hockey Nation Live show. Thanks to Mr. Untitled to be with us. And we have, of course, I'm talking about Mr. Go Caps. Welcome. Long time I did not see Mr. Go Caps in the house of the Hockey Nation Live show. Then we have Mr. Abs Fans, another returner in the house today. Mr. Abs Fan, hopefully an amazing, great day so far. It's a Thursday, by the way, thankfully day. Thanks, Mr. Abs Fans, going to be in the house. His prediction is going, the Hurricane win tonight 4-2, and he predicted Mr. Suzuki is going to score twice for the Montreal Canadiens. The scout, Mr. Alexis Dubuc, joined us today. And we have Mr. Solar. Welcome back, Mr. Solar, in the house of the Hockey Nation Live show for the morning skate show, Mr. Solar. Directly from the upstate north of the New York, we welcome Mr. Jose Duarte is in the house this morning. We have a lot of news coming for the Toronto Maple Leafs this morning. Bad news happened to Mr. The goaltender Peter Maracek, done for the rest of the schedule of the calendar. So I don't know if we'll be ready for the playoff, but I know he's out for the rest. Kokenimi Jesperi is going to be out for 2 or 3 weeks at that moment. What's up, Co-Caps? What's up? Hopefully you're doing well. Mr. Dawson, Sport Corner, supporter of the Hockey Nation Live show. We always appreciate to have Mr. Dawson in the house. Everything is big in Texas. Everything is amazingly amazing over there. I'm talking Mr. Joseph LANHAM. Welcome back. Oui, tu peux marquer tes questions là, Alexis, puis moi je vais les retenir, puis je vais lui demander quand il va être disponible. J'ai hâte de voir les Sénateurs jouer à Québec. Possible. We don't know yet. The NHL did not approve, but they have a fact possible. They have 5 games going to be tried to be played in Quebec. We'll see if this is going happening or not, but something will happen. And we have Mr. Ron with Kings 20, number 1 fans of the Hockey Nation Live show, directly from Utah. And the fans of the Los Angeles Kings, they lost yesterday. Again, the Edmonton Oilers 4-3, but great performance. The Kings yesterday come back with a deficit of 2 goals. But not good enough to beat the Oilers. But it was close. Welcome back. Yep. Hutchinson is right now with the team with the different colors or his pad, a blocker. I don't know how many he has right now with so many teams he's changed for the last couple of years. he have to look all the way to his bag. So wait a minute, which color are the Toronto? Oh, they are blue, white. Oh, I need to take that blocker. Oh, I lost the white, everything. So we'll see what's happening. And directly from Finland, Mr. Yemo Virtanen. An amazing, great night of prediction, Mr. Yemo Virtanen. I'm already at 12 o'clock to tell you, you did an amazing, great job. 6-0, 2 right score, and the fantasy players yesterday. Yemo hit the hat trick yesterday. We're going to talk more during the warm-up show tonight at 6 o'clock. But congratulations, Mr. Yemo, with Danny T. Danny got also he got 6-0, both of you. So congratulations about this, Mr. Yemo, yesterday about that one. But the bad news, Yemo, is the leaderboard start tomorrow, April 1st. But you finished strong the March, so congratulations about that one over there. We have us now, we can have with a point. I'm happy. Round, yes, they need point for sure for the Kings. About that, how je veux savoir, we're going to des joueurs, les joueurs. All right, I'm going to take all those questions. Et vous êtes en live ce soir pour la game des Abs? Yes. Bien sûr, mon Abs fan, on va être en live ce soir à 7h05. About that, congratulations. But, Yamo, you know, never too late to start, never too late to be, but I think it was a warm-up for you. Imagine how you're going to perform during April. To be honest with you, you're going to have an amazing, great time for sure. I can't wait to see you over there. But it will be interesting what happening around the league. Yesterday, you have a 6 game on the NHL. And honestly, you have a couple of surprises. Winnipeg find a way again to win an overtime or shootout, honestly. They're still alive. They have a win by a score of 3-2. And, you know, without Kyle Connor and Schmidt now, they're going to be in Toronto tonight. That will be maybe a bump for them whatsoever. Hopefully for them, if they can get 1 point, that will be something they're looking for sure. So, would be really interesting what happening with the Toronto and the Winnipeg Jet tonight. Then we have also last night a couple of games. The Detroit Red Wings lost 5-4 against the New York Rangers. Great performance overall for the Rangers. Continues to increasing the number of the points, separate themselves with the Pittsburgh and the Washington Capitals. I really believe they are going to finish second, but they have a couple of points behind the Hurricanes. Can they have a chance to join, to reach them and maybe finish first? They have two games again to play against them until the end of the season. Could be a big factor, but we'll see what's happening. But it's something could turn around and, Sandy got a great trade deadline with fun players like Andrew Kopp, Frank Vanetro, and also Tyler Mott. The Rangers did not lose any game right now, so they're looking great until so far. We have another team, the Edmonton beat the Lesson King 4-3. The Edmonton are hot right now, one of the hottest team in the NHL with Minnesota Wild. And then late yesterday, Arizona beat the San Jose Sharks. Bad news for the Arizona Coyotes. The star, Clinton Keller is going to be out for the rest of the season. Really bad injuries, but he looked like he's feel better for what he said this morning on the Twitter. So we're glad to hear from him, and we wish the best for the speed recovery for him to come back in the NHL next season. Let's dive in right away because we have already Mr. Russ is coming aboard. So let's open the door and see if Mr. Russ is here. Mr. Russ Cohen in the house this morning.
Good to see you.
1 year ago, the last time we talked to you, already, my friend, we are excited to having you aboard. Thanks to be a part of the show today. And a lot of people wait for you to be a part, with 30, 35 years experience in hockey and sport. I believe you are still in New York, New Jersey area?
New Jersey, yeah.
Right? So what do you do now for, you still continue the writing and be a part of this fun sport, everything like that? Tell a little bit more about, for we have a lot of new people. The last time we spoke here, it was like we increased about 4,000 more people and the subscribers. So I'm sure a lot of people, they never see, we never heard from you, and maybe it gave us a little bit of a background and everything so we can know more about you.
Yeah, sure. So my website, sportsology.com, started back in 2000. And right about 2001, I was at my first NHL draft. So that's how long I've been covering NHL drafts. And about the next year, I started really focusing on prospects, but still cover the league. And I always will cover the league. So I've done that. I've written 11 books, most recently an NBA book, but plenty of hockey books. People can go to Amazon and see that, or even there's a Kindle Vella series I've done on the NHL draft that I keep adding to, and you buy tokens, and that's another way you could support me. So that's something where I tell some really good draft stories. I've heard a lot of good ones from different people in the industry, plus I've experienced a lot, so I've written about that. I do a thing called Locked On Flyers podcast. I do Off the Post on SoundCloud. Once a week, I'm on SiriusXM with Mick Kern, Tuesdays at 12:15 Eastern. I do different things. I write about rock music. Sometimes I cover television shows. Sometimes I'm interviewing actresses. But, my main thing is hockey, and then baseball, too. I do cover a lot of baseball. I've written four baseball books, maybe 5. And so that's something that I stay close to as well.
That's awesome. You look like you're a busy man.
It does look that way, doesn't it?
I listen to you. I'm a really big fan of the NHL Network series. I'm always there early in the morning when I go to the gym. I listen to Tyler and Steve and things like that. And I really like the point, by the way, after you're done at 12:15, the point afternoon with Boomer. I really like his countenance. He bring a lot of good stuff on the subject, everything like that. I get Steve a little bit later, but then it hit 4:40. I have to be ready for the night, so I don't listen too much Steve. But it's a great shows the morning until the night. If you cover them on, you cover hockey, that's a great place to listening during the day. I always love the NHL series. XM.
Yeah, you know what it is, especially for people in the United States. Like in Canada, it's a lot easier to find hockey content as far as not podcast, but just out in the open air. And Sirius is like that one hub where you can get it all the time, 24/7, and you can't really do that in the States. You can do that in Canada. So if you're in the States, it's one of the best places to go for hockey content for sure.
Absolutely right. Did you cover the Flyers? Would be around about the Flyers. I believe you did some Pennsylvania. If I can remember last season, did you work around Pennsylvania area or leave over there at some point? Or?
Well, yeah, I live about 20 minutes from the rink, even though I'm in New Jersey. So I cover out of Philly. I do get around, and I'll cover different things. I was at World Junior Camp. I was at the All-American Prospects game this year. I was just at the regionals for the NCAAs up in Lehigh. So I've been bebopping between like Michigan and Pennsylvania, and was at MSG earlier this year. And so I do get around. I do like talking to fellow reporters, and also like looking at whatever prospects I could see. I haven't been to Canada yet. Probably I'll get back on track with that next year. Although I'll be at the draft in Montreal. I was at the last Montreal draft, and I'll be at this one. Usually I work the floor with SiriusXM. Like I'll come in pre and post for that, so I do a lot of work with that. And so Philly, I cover the Flyers, and hence the Flyers broadcast, and I have a Flyers book that I've written. So, but the Metro I cover pretty heavily too. Like you were talking Rangers, and I've written 2 Ranger books. So I'm into that pretty heavily too.
That's awesome. I can wait. Or maybe possible we can maybe meet each other. I'm going to be at an NHL draft, so maybe a quick live over there about what's going on around the league. So I can wait to see you over there. That'd be awesome. Have you? Before we jump, because the people always expect to see you talk about prospect and everything. How do you feel about the so far in NHL this season? It's the first time we hit 82 game since like 2019. And what do you think about what's going on the East Conference, West Conference, and what's happening in NHL?
Yeah, the East is decided except for like playoff positioning, but it's a juggernaut. Like the West is tough too. Don't get me wrong, but the East in the playoffs will be absolutely cutthroat. It'll be, I think, similar to back in the Patrick Division days. I think it'll kind of harken back to that. I think it's going to be rough and tumble like that, and you know, in the entire league, a lot of good teams are going to go out first round. Like we know that. The West, there's still spots up for grabs for sure. The Pacific is kind of weak, so that's keeping some teams in it, and teams that have had some issues like Vegas just because of injuries. So that's interesting. So you have the wild cards and that Pacific spot that I think are still up for grabs there, and that really could go down to the wire for the season. So that's always exciting. I always like to watch teams play for their playoff lives and see how that gets them into the playoffs, and then what they can do then. You always want to kind of go into the playoffs hot, but it could go two ways. Sometimes when a team is playing for its playoff life for like that last 10, 15 games, they do come into hot in the playoffs, but then sometimes they run out of gas too because every game was like a playoff game and they just can't maintain it. And then you get the other thing like St. Louis where they just get hot at the right time and then, they make a magical cup run. I like to see both things. You never know in this sport.
You're absolutely right about that one there. I know you cover a lot around the area, but we have a couple of fans for the New Jersey Devils, and maybe you have a chance to talk maybe with Tom Fitzgerald, who follow a little bit more the Devils, what's going on with there. I really like the fact they hired Fitzgerald last season or the year before that, and I think he did a good job over there. But what do you feel about the prospect of the team so far, and what about Jack Hughes? I was impressed. I watched him against the Montreal Canadiens, and then I saw him another game prior to that one. It's not the same Jack Hughes we know. We saw him 2 years ago, 1 year ago. I don't know what happening to him, but he's really now, he's going to be maybe the top 10 at least, and NHL maybe 5 at some point. He's just amazing right now.
Yeah, well, the skating was always elite, but like any other young guy who gets thrust into the NHL, they're usually not strong enough. And sometimes even the mental battle can get to him. And I think he's mentally stronger, physically stronger, more confidence. He's got that same kind of confidence that he had back when he was playing for like the NTDP. So I think you're seeing what we all saw in Jack Hughes before the draft. And, for about a year and a half, I had to like fend off people that were like, well, is he going to be a bust? What's wrong with Jack Hughes? And there's nothing wrong. It's just, you see it with Alexis Lafreniere too. There's a growth period that has to happen. Not everybody comes in like gangbusters. So, and especially, with the pandemic and everything else, that kind of has messed with guys' training and other things. So you have to, especially with the young players, you have to take that into account. I like what the Devils are doing. I've been watching Luke Hughes recently. I saw him in World Junior Camp, and I felt like he wasn't up to full speed yet coming back from his injury, but now I feel like he is. And he looks great for Michigan, and I think he's going to come out, even though there's conflicting reports. Maybe he'll stay another year. But if they were to win, I don't know why he would stay another year. So we'll see. But he's got like 17 goals. He skates terrific. Once in a while he could get too fancy with the puck and get a little too enamored with his skating and have a turnover. But it's not that much. Maybe you're talking once a game or something. I think that's something that could always happen to a player. But he's going to be a really nice player in that league. And honestly, the Devils are getting better. It's just their goaltending has let them down this year with injuries and no stability there. So that's been the story of the last 2 years with their goaltending, going back to Corey Crawford, honestly.
Talking about goaltender over there, how do you feel about Mackenzie Blackwood? I know 2-3 years ago came strong in this league. A lot of expectation was high for him. I don't know the injury make him where he's right now, but what's going on with Mackenzie Blackwood? I think he's a big piece of the puzzle if the Devils want to get the next level.
I mean, he is a piece of the puzzle, but like I think he's got a heel injury that he's battling, and I think that's of concern now because he hasn't looked the same. So that's going to be an issue with them, and I think that's why they're continuing to look for goaltending and look for goaltending upgrades, because also Bernier, he may be done. So that's why they're looking to upgrade that position. And I hope Blackwood comes back full strength because I do think he's a good goalie, but they have to sort of cover themselves now. Otherwise, yeah, Ty Smith is getting better every year. And I think they finally have figured out how to use Severson the right way, even though his contract will be up next year. It's going to be interesting to see what happens with that. Subban, look, I think he's done there. Maybe he'll play somewhere else for a cheap salary, but I'm pretty sure he's done in New Jersey, unless he would have just come back ridiculously cheap and they really do want him. But his game has really fallen off, and it's a shame. He was a great player, but it's fallen off. But they have good prospects. Like, they're coming. I think it's just a matter of time. I mean, I really do. I like Tice Thompson. You saw what Tage has been able to do, and I think Tage is a little better, but Tice has an unbelievable shot. And I watched him in college, and I really do like him. I think he could score at the NHL level. I think it's going to take a little while, but he'll be there too. So, they're starting to add these pieces. They're going to start getting these guys, and maybe they'll pick up a Johnny Gaudreau. If they were to do something like that, and their goaltending is solidified next year, they actually, I think, would have a chance for the playoffs.
Yeah, I'm sorry about that. Before we jump to other team, I just want to finish one because he's always been compared to Lucas Raymond since like 2-3 years ago now. I'm talking about Alexander Holtz. I don't know if you had a chance to watch him with Utica Holtz, but what do you feel about Alexander Holtz?
Yeah, I haven't seen enough of him to be able to say that. I mean, I've seen a ton of Raymond, and Raymond's just an unbelievable guy, right? Like, he's just he could be a top 10 player in the league someday, just with the skills that he has and what he's been able to do in his rookie season. But yeah, I don't have enough of a book on Holtz.
Yeah. Because you are good still where you at right now before we jump in for the other fans. We have a left fan for Toronto and then Montreal. I have a bunch of questions about you for this. But I want to complete a bit more about the New York Rangers. Honestly, they're going to be part of the playoff, everything I just mentioned before you come in, talking about, hey, they are closer what we think they are from Carolina. Two big games until end of season at home at the Madison Square Garden. They trade three trades during the trade deadline. And overall, what are your expectations? How do you like, what do you think about their chance, everything like that for the Rangers?
Yeah, actually, so I realize now in my brain, your accent was kind of throwing me. So you're talking about Alexander Holtz, right? Okay. Yeah, I do know a lot about him. Sorry. I was thinking you were saying Altz, and I'm thinking, well, maybe there's somebody in the queue that I don't know about. My bad. Because I've actually spoken to Devils personnel about him too, as recently as September. But I wrote about him over the summer. I think he's doing great. I know he's going to be a sniper. I think he's different from Raymond because he's a better goal scorer, where Raymond's, a better playmaker. I think he can score 30 at the NHL level. I think it's just a matter of time I think his skating is there. I don't know if his strength is fully there. And I think the all-around game has to just improve a little bit more. But I do like him a lot. And it's hard to get actual goal scorers in the draft, and I do think they got one.
Yep, you're absolutely right about that one for sure. Let's move on again with the Rangers. About what do you feel about the Rangers so far, and what do you expect for them until the end of the season?
Well, before the trades, I thought maybe they go a round or so in the playoffs, and they really they checked off all the boxes at the trade deadline. They really did. I mean, I figured they would go after some other guys before Kopp, but I kind of knew Kopp could be an option. And I like that pickup, and he's fit in seamlessly. Now, the interesting thing about Kopp could be for next year, if he were to really like New York, if they try to sign him to a deal, I could see them divesting of Ryan Strome and going with Kopp if he likes it there. And so far, he looks like he's fitting in pretty good. So that could be a good thing. Vetrano has sort of added that extra, top six guy, even though he's not truly a top six guy, but a fill in there. Give them some speed on the wing and some little extra scoring punch. They've been getting that. So that's really good too. And the upgrade on defense has been good. It's all worked out really, really well for them. And, you see guys like K'Andre Miller getting better. I think they could get to the conference final now. Like, I do think there's a path there. Shesterkin is terrific. Their defense is much improved. And I think, you're going to see good things out of them. Justin Braun was a big pickup for them. I covered him in Philly all these years, and I tweeted about him in like February that I thought that he would be the right pickup for the Rangers, and he's solidified their bottom pairing too.
Yeah, and they miss Sammy Blais. Imagine with Sammy Blais over there, I think that would be again the.
I think they miss Buchnevich more, but they do miss Sammy Blais too. I agree with you.
Yep. We have a question like maybe what you look like working with Mike Ogello and Eglon on the hockey bars.
It's a lot of fun. I've been doing it for a lot of years. I like joking with both of them. After you work with people for a while, you sort of learn their traits and you know when to jab them and such. And I know how to get Mike going as far as with his Leafs coverage or otherwise. And same with Eck. Eck goes off on these interesting little diversions during the show, and sometimes I'll make fun of him for that, and sometimes I'll say, wow, that was really good. It's always interesting. I never know where this show is going to go. I never know what we're going to exactly talk about. We don't have like a written scripted thing. Like once in a while we'll say, hey, we'll talk about some of these subjects, and so it's kind of like off the cuff, and I like it. I just feel like it's just a bunch of guys that get together and talk about hockey, and I like doing the pre-show. That always has mixed feelings because there's some people that just want to get straight into hockey, but Mike and I like to talk about, some other subjects once in a while for a couple of minutes, and we do that too. So I think it's fun.
That's why it's so amazing now the social media, the reason like it's almost that we are on the same place. I look on the couch talking about hockey, watching the TV, but talking about hockey. That's the beauty of what we do, honestly.
Yep.
Yamo is from Finland, and he asked a question for you about Kimmo Tuminen. He believe he lives now in this area. I'm sure you cover the Flyers for many years. You've been around the different players. I never had a chance to interview or talk a lot with Kimmo.
Yeah, I see him in the press box, and I definitely have chatted with him. I haven't interviewed him in a little while because, he's been working with the team and such, but I definitely chat with him. It's fun to see him. He did do an interview recently and echoed some sentiments that similar sentiments that I had about the Flyers and maybe what they're doing right and wrong. And so, he's an outspoken guy, a great guy. We all love him. I mean, I just think he's a terrific guy, and I thought he was a terrific player, and, he had his time, and yeah, he's still in the area and really beloved.
Talking about Timonen, talking about the Flyers, we have a question about Mr. from Enotap, talking about Fletcher, and I will move with this question also. What's going on with the Flyers? What's going to happen with Fletcher? What is their off-season? And I know the prospect is not great, honestly, unfortunately. What they have to do, what Fletcher need, the first thing you need to do right now for the next couple of weeks after the season's over?
Well, he has to listen to his boss, and I think some of it comes from his boss, and I think that's a part of the struggle that they're having because they don't seem to want to rebuild, so they're going to retool and say that they're going to be competitive next year. It's a long path to being competitive next year. Even if you get Ryan Ellis back and he's full strength, that still doesn't make you competitive. They have a lot of other issues. Cap issues are big. They're going to have to do something with James Van Riemsdyk's contract, whether they could trade him and have to induce a team to take him with a pick again. And I know fans don't want to do that, or just buy him out, but they're lacking cap space. And that's why they could never bring Claude Giroux back unless he's coming back for $1 million or $2 million, which I don't think he'll do. So you look at it and you say, all right, realistically, Cam York's looking good. He'll be in the lineup. They do have some other prospects. I think Morgan Frost is coming along. The guys they're getting from college right now, I do not count as playing in the NHL next year. I like Ronnie Attard. I think he's really good. Bobby Brink's leading the nation in scoring. He's excellent, but he also needs to strengthen up. Attard needs to be able to play a little better at pace. You got to give these guys a chance at the AHL level, but they're getting, Noah Cates. Noah Cates has a better chance of making it to the NHL than the other two I mentioned. Even though he may be less talented offensively, he's got the defensive game down. He's got the away from the puck play down. So they do have prospects. They're not all going to fit in immediately, and there's going to be some growing pains. The problem that they did this year was they filled in. 2 years ago, they were hoping the prospects would, make the jump, and they didn't, right? And I think that was too hopeful. So then this year, they plugged them in with a lot of mediocre NHL talent, average NHL talent, and that didn't really work either. Injuries hurt him to a degree, but every team has injuries, so you can't really use that as your excuse. So I think next year they have to really spend their money wisely. And as an example, I think Owen Tippett can be a decent player. There were better players to take from Florida. Now, I know they didn't want to give them maybe their top 3 or 4 prospects, but there's other prospects that I liked better. But, Owen Tippett's here to stay right now. So I think he needs a shooting coach. I do. I see him rushing the puck when he's shooting it sometimes. I see him not shooting it right away, like when he's playing the hammer on the power play. These are things a shooting coach can fix. Even Claude Giroux had a shooting coach a couple of years ago, a guy named Pat Malloy, and did a great job with him. And then he was starting to score more goals than he'd ever scored before. I think Tippett needs the same thing. Farabee had the same thing worked on. He came back. That's what Tippett really needs, and because you can't solve that at the NHL level. And like he's 6 games in, he has no goals. You can't just simply say anymore, well, this guy's got a great shot and it's going to work out in the NHL, because you saw, even with Cole Caulfield, great shot aside, you still have to have the mental game right. Your coach has to be putting you in the right position. All that stuff wasn't really working out after the playoffs, because when you start a season flat-footed, all of a sudden you've got to play fully different than you did when a team was on, pretty much hot and on a playoff run. So that goes for the Flyers too. Any rookie that comes in now, it's going to be different than when they start next year. So I think next year is still a transition year. I think they're probably overly flowery as far as what the outlook might be of their season. I think they would struggle greatly to make the playoffs regardless of who they pick up. But I'm still willing to see what they're going to do and have an open mind about it.
I'm sorry about that, Tippett. He could reach 20, 25 goals in the NHL. The guy can... Like you said, his accuracy is not there.
I think he can go higher than
about
that.
him. I see him so many times here in Florida. The kid can read the puck when he have that kind of confidence.
Oh, you're talking about Tippett, not Caulfield. Okay, sorry.
Yeah,
Tippett. I think Tippett could reach 20. I have to see what a shooting coach could do with him to get more, because the other thing with him is I feel like the release on a shot, when he's shooting it, wrist shot, when he's like basically right around the blue line, a little bit in, he gets it off very quickly. But I think when he's on the power play, there's still a moment of hesitation where he didn't have that hesitation in juniors, and that's why it went in a lot more. Goalies are a lot harder at this level. So I don't know about 25 for him. I'm going to have to wait and see on that. Maybe 20. But if he stays the same here and doesn't get better, then you're looking at, 10 to 12. Like, that's probably what you're looking at.
Yep, absolutely about that for sure. You're still in the same area, from the Flyers to the Rangers and the Devils. Let's finish with the Islanders now. We know, not a great year overall for them. Lamoriello, Barry Trotz, and then they pick it up a couple of weeks ago, couple better. They play better as a team. Every time that, not many change happening. They just lost Sorokin for maybe the rest of the season. I'm not sure about the injury. But what are your expectations for the Islanders for the next couple of weeks until the summer, and Lou Lamoriello?
Well, Lou is safe. I didn't love the signings, the re-signings of Parisi and Clutterbuck at the deadline. I know they're sort of circling the wagons, and they're like, hey, we like these guys and the toughness we have, and Barry Trotz will figure it out. But they used to run on this razor-thin deficit, and for their goal differential, and they always talked about it. Well, they blew that this year. I don't think you could use the beginning of the season as an excuse, but it certainly was going to be a factor, and I don't think they handled that right either, in the sense that I felt like when you were going to be on the road that much, having a lot of older players was probably going to be a tough thing to do, because I think you need young legs for that kind of stuff. And they were home a few times, but they kept, they weren't home to play. They haven't been good enough in their own building. I think that's something that needs to get better. The goaltending's there. The defense is there. Noah Dobson's turning into the player I thought he would be. So that's great. Barzal needs to get more confidence again. He's lost a little bit of confidence as far as, his actual scoring ability and getting points. I think, again, when you're playing for Barry Trotz, if you want Matt Barzal to play like a perfect game or a great two-way game, you're basically going to rob some of his offense. And I think that's occurred. I think, when you get past Nelson, Bavillier's not had a great year. Their secondary scoring is bad. It's just bad. Pajot is okay, but he hasn't been what you want him to be. Palmieri's been horrible. compared to what you'd want him to be. Those things have to get better. I still think they need more youth in their lineup. I can't tell you that they're a guaranteed playoff team next year. I can't say that at all because, again, I think they still have too many muckers and grinders and guys who like to fight as compared to a little bit more better skating, better puck moving guys who, like to shoot a little more. They're lacking some of that.
I agree with you about. I think they would need to maybe trade one of the top 9 over there to get another snapper with Nelson, something like that. And I don't want one specific like Pajot, whatever. Maybe with Mainfield, but a package deal where they need to bring at least a 25. Because right now they just relate on Nelson and too much on Barzell. And
Lee's come back to a degree too. You're right though. I mean, it's like 3 guys basically hoping that they carry the team, and then you get like the rest just plays great defense, and you get great goaltending, and you keep the score down. You can't keep doing that year after year.
No, you're absolutely right about that one. I forgot to ask this question because it came from someone. We have a bunch of questions I have to go through. Desnoyers with the Flyers. I don't know if you know him. I believe Desnoyers was the Flyers. Elliot Desnoyers. I don't know if you know him.
Oh, Elliot Desnoyers, yes. So, again, that one I got. All right. I do know him. I love his skating. His skating is terrific. I got to watch him a lot on video last year because, nobody was going to games, but then also saw him in rookie camp and in a rookie game and really liked what I saw. He was playing with the veterans. The veterans, when they were before camp started and they were kind of scrimmaging, they wanted him to play with them. So he's not long for the NHL. He's got great stick skills. The way he controls the puck and holds on to it is really good. Like I said, the skating is top notch. The shot is top notch. I think his defense is already pretty good. The hockey IQ is there. So I think, in a couple of years, you're going to see him in the Flyers uniform, and that would be a big boost for them. They don't have a lot of players like Desnoyers.
That's great to hear that. Another project of the QM for sure. If fans of Toronto, if you want to have some questions, it's time to mention to RUSS. So open up. We have a lot of people around. So we have one from Toronto, and it's come from Jose. He said, how do you think the league will do in the playoff? And maybe talk a little bit more deep about the Toronto Maple Leafs and also the new signature of the Nick Abruzzese. I don't know.
Abruzzese, yeah. So I cover out of the ECAC, so I've seen a lot of Nick Abruzzese and actually saw his last game in the NCAA. Well, like second to last game in NCAAs this season. He looked really good. He's fast. I interviewed him pre-draft because once I spoke to him, I realized he's one of those classic late bloomers, and he's got terrific speed, really good stick and puck control. He's a little older than some of the other guys, so I think the Leafs might try and keep him in there for some energy, and he might be able to hold that role. We'll see. But I like Abruzzese. I think he could be an everyday NHLer, but he's not going to be like a 20-goal, 50-point guy, but he could be like a 35-point guy. And I think he's valuable, and I do think you have to respect his speed. So there's that. As far as the playoffs, I really feel like they have to have Campbell. I never like Mrazek. I just don't trust him. There's too many times where he's far out in the crease and gives up 1 or 2 goals early in the game that just sort of takes the team out of it. I think it's hard to defend in front of him. If Campbell's healthy and he's playing like he was in the first half of the year, not in the second half, he started to lose the thread a little bit and wasn't as good in the second half. I think they can get out of the first round, but they're a team that, again, and I know Leaf fans don't want to hear it, they could still get eliminated in the first round just basically because they're going to face great teams. If they face Boston in the first round, like that's a tough matchup. That's a really tough matchup. But I do think they're capable of going a couple rounds. The only way they can go further is if Campbell really were as good as he was at the beginning of the season. I think Giordano has solidified their defense to a degree. I do still think they have some defensive issues, but they're not as pronounced now with Giordano there. And Matthews has been, I can't tell you how many times I pushed Matthews pre-draft. I only saw him by accident. Like I went and covered and what was it? I want to say it was a USHL event or a USA Hockey event. Can't remember. It was on Long Island, and it was at the Islanders practice rink. And when I was there, I was really there to see other guys that are still playing, like Ryan Fitzgerald and guys like that. And I saw this guy go the length of the ice a couple of times, didn't quite connect on scoring, and saw him just the way he handled the puck, and it was Austin Matthews. And then sure enough, I find out, hey, the year before he has a broken leg. And so he kind of like, I don't want to say a lot of people didn't know him, but I think he kind of snuck on the scene at first. And honestly, when I would talk about Matthews in his draft year, I think there was a lot of skepticism about what he might be able to be as a player, because I think people were thinking, what could a guy from Arizona do? And is he really worthy of being the number one pick? And I had to answer that question a lot. And I had great projections for Matthews, and I think he's exceeded them. I mean, 49 goals in like 61 games in this era is unbelievable. So he could carry him a little bit, and Marner certainly helps Matthews get those goals. That's a big deal. They're another team, though. They have to get their secondary scoring. But it's going to be about the goaltending and defense. That's what you're looking at with the Leafs.
I'm not worried about their first, like Marner didn't score last year or Matthews. I think they will do well. It's a secondary. The bottom six, whether they make the playoff, if they win those important games, they have to be sure they produce. Without this, they're not going to go nowhere, unfortunately, because you cannot carry on during the playoff. Only one player can carry on your team all the way on the offensive side. It's too important, the 3-2 game, the 4-3 game, and he needs to have some support at the bottom. If they cannot do anything from this, it's not going to happen for them, unfortunately. And, Boston has always been not a good matchup for them, for many reasons, right? So we'll be interesting about this. Before we move on with them, Matthews and Nice, great pick, 32-33 overall pick for the Toronto Maple Leafs 2 years ago. Great. A lot of people expect him to watch a little bit. He should be first-round pick. Do you have any possibility to watching him a little bit, or do you have any words about him?
Yeah, Nice, definitely. It's interesting because I think, this has been a big year for him. I was at World Junior Camp, and I think first couple of days he had to find his way, and then he did. And, he had like 1 point in the World Juniors, and then that thing shut down. He had a point in the first game. He's done well here in the NCAA playoffs. People I think are getting a little too carried away because he's a big guy who could play around the net, that they expect that to work out in the NHL somehow when he signs, because the Leafs could use that kind of person. If you're going to use like Chris Kreider as an example, Kreider was 2 years older when he kind of jumped in the playoffs with the Rangers. I'm not for that. I don't think they should do that. Even if he looks good in a couple of games, I wouldn't rush to judgment on that. I think he's going to be excellent. I do think he's going to need some time in the AHL. Maybe it's a short amount of time. Maybe it's just the little bit of time this year with the playoff run with the Marlies. Maybe that's all it would take. But I do think he needs that to sort of transition. But because he's big and he's got goal scoring ability and he's sort of fearless around the net, he is going to get some chances that other players don't get. But again, you have to be careful. Same thing that even, happened with Caulfield with the Canadians. When you put a guy in there like that, it's different when they're on that playoff run. The coach is willing to put up with some, mistakes or whatever if you're producing offensively. But when that next season starts, they're not willing to put up with anything. And that's when it all changes for that young player. So, you have to be careful with that.
One thing first of all, you bring so much great point. I would talk with you all day for me because I learned also the same time.
I appreciate it.
One thing is great, Russ, is like, for what I really am going to get out this conversation is like the word patient. I think the fans, the people are not enough patient about the young kid. They expect, because it was a first-round pick, whatever is a 7, 9, 12, 14, 25, they expect the process right away. The exceptions are not many. And you bring at the beginning the Lafreniere and those kind of players, like the Jack Hughes, right? It take at least a 3, 4, some of them 5, 6. Look, Tage Thompson in Buffalo right now. He took a long time. Troy Terry, I think that's a good example about that one over there. And I know it's not a lot, but I think Mike McCarron right now with Nashville flourishing.
I'm gonna part ways with you on Mike McCarron. I mean, you're talking about a guy who's strictly a fighter at this point, but I get it.
He got 6, 7 goals. That's my point about it. It's not going to compare with Jack Hughes or anything like that, but the guy's at least hanging there and never gave up, and he's still there. Many of them would believe the NHL being the East Coast Hockey League were hanging somewhere around the league, so I can understand. Right. I don't want you on the bad situation there, but someone asking you, what do you think about all Tyler out, Lipushkin situation happening a couple of days ago.
Yeah.
Any comments about that?
Yeah. Anytime you hit a guy from behind like that, I think it's worthy of a 1-game suspension, whether you have priors or not, whether you have a history or not. And I think Hall should have gotten a 1-game suspension. A $5,000 fine for Taylor Hall is like, 50 cents to you, to him. It's like, it's nothing. So I don't think that was the right punishment. And Lyubushkin, he went off the ice. I think he did come back in the game, but he got stunned. I mean, those are the kinds of things, those kinds of cheap shots you really like to see done away with completely.
I missed one here, and I apologize because I have so many. But back to Dice Thompson, you talk about him, and maybe you can quickly talk about this. We see him at New Jersey Devils next year or not?
I think there's a chance because he really does have that shot, and I think his footwork is better. I saw him 2 years ago where I felt like maybe his feet were a little heavy, but the shot was great. He's good on the power play. I could see Thompson, maybe playing some third line next year. If you put him with the right kind of guys, if you can get him somebody that could set up the puck for him, guys like Bratt, guys like that who are really veterans now that could, set him up for his shot. I think there's a chance.
That's good. You hear that? Sometimes I read question. I'm never sure about their name, but I would do my best if his name. He asked you up in French, but I would say to you, what do you think about Elias Salomonsson, the Sweden players? I believe he's talking about Elias Salomonsson's.
Don't have a lot on him, unfortunately. Sorry.
All right. So let's move on to the next one over there. That's not a big deal. Let's move on a little bit about the situations going on right now with the biggest Leonard problem over there, but also about Thompson, where you have an amazing, great story. I don't know if you know a little bit more about Thompson, but came from the Brook University in Ontario, and now he's going to, he's really flourished in the NHL right now. The last couple of games, he turned that he's never give up. He's always continuous battle. Now he have a good success right now. What do you think about him?
Yeah, I actually think he's battled really well. I was not thinking this was a great fit for him. They needed that win against Seattle, and they got it. I watched about half of that game till I fell asleep because I'm old, and I really did like what I saw. He does battle in the crease. His clears are pretty safe. He's got a good glove hand. There were some times where he was a little out of position, but he is a bit of a younger, goalie. So that's going to happen. Younger meaning not a lot of experience in the NHL too. So I think, they've actually, I don't want to say they've gotten lucky because they knew when they got him that he had talent, but I think they're getting fairly lucky on the results because, he's going to either keep him in the playoffs or not until Leonard's back, right? I mean, that's what it boils down to. So that's a pretty big deal. I would never have thought that their season would have come down to this as well as they were playing in the first half, right? And with Jack Eichel there. So sometimes you never know. Hockey could be a strange game.
You're absolutely right about that. What I like from Thompson, he fight. He constantly fight for the puck.
Does.
He's not like, I love it, because you talk about Peter Marechek, and I laugh myself inside me because oh my God, he's so right about him. Inconsistency, composure is not. I don't know. It's not my style of goalie. I like. I'll be honest with you. So,
and it doesn't mean he can't have great games. He does.
Yeah.
But I think when you're unorthodox like that in today's game, I do think it throws off the structure of a team.
Yeah, absolutely about that. A lot of people for the Montreal Canadiens, honestly, we are on the Montreal Canadiens station here, Leslie. But what do you think so far? What do you thought about, give a little bit background about Jeff Gordon? I'm sure you met a lot of time when he was at the Rangers, the Bruins, everything like that. And also Ken Hughes. I think that I love Ken Hughes' story and where he came from Boston and then agent, everything like that. What do you think about those two people?
Yeah, it's funny. When I was on Hockey Prospect Radio for about 15 years, Jeff Gordon would come on, and I was always impressed with just how smart he was. He really is an accomplished guy. He's educated. He gets the game of hockey in the sense that when he likes a player, like he was a big Chris Kreider guy, and even scouted him when he was with Boston, right? And they got him with the Rangers. There's things about Jeff Gordon that he does that are pretty quiet but quietly good. I don't know Kent Hughes very well, so I can't comment on him, except I like what I've seen. But as far as Gordon, already they've made really good trades. They've gotten players that I really do like. I feel like if anybody could sort of unlock, Ryan Paling as an example, because I think he was kind of being misused for a while, and then he also had, concussion problems. There's still talent there, and if they don't give up on him, that's a very useful player. I do feel like there's some players like that the Canadians have that Gordon now, because they are going to rebuild and is not going to just spend to the cap. Well, I shouldn't say that. He will spend to the floor, but he won't spend to the ceiling. I think there's going to be some opportunities for some guys that maybe had struggled before, that now maybe others under St. Louis, who's done a nice job, that could really show themselves. And I think that could be very valuable for Gordon to kind of know what he has in these depth players, so then he knows what he needs to add. And then as far as drafting, hey, I don't know what they're going to do. Trevor Timmons isn't there anymore, right? So I have to see. I don't know how the current group is going to do drafting wise. The previous group was okay. I don't think they were terrible. I don't think they were great. For every Caulfield, I can give you a Cale Fleury, right? But, that's how the draft goes sometimes too.
You're absolutely right about that. Talking, we know already. I don't want to talk about veterans, but more the young guests with you, because you really know that. What do you see as the ceiling, or maybe I think was the biggest, as all the prospect was trade during the last trade deadline. I think he was the biggest one, and it was not easy to get out. He took everything. No. You have to give credit for Ken Hughes, because how many times Joe Sakic refused to trade Justin Barron?
He wouldn't have refused him if Giroux wanted to play in Colorado. That's what I think he was saving him for, and that's why I give Gordon and Hughes credit for getting him when they didn't get Giroux. So that was a good return. Justin Barron, listen, he's a great skater. He's terrific in the offensive zone. His zone entries are fast. He's terrific on the power play. Great shot. I don't love his decision-making all the time. I think that is something that has to be worked on. But he could be a top power play guy. He has that ability, and you just have to give it a little time. The same way that I feel like the Canadians have misused Romanov, I think if you do the right things with Barron and you work on those other parts of his game, because the offense is there, the skating's there, but work on those other parts of his game, then I think you'll really have something.
Yeah, I'm sorry about you live in the Northeast, and you follow college or you talk that. I want to talk about Jordan Harris. Nobody talk about this in the question I didn't see, but I want give us in 2 minutes Jordan Harris, because I think he's maybe a player nobody knows a lot about, because he came from NCAA.
Yeah, really reliable guy. Teammates love him. Strong skater, physically strong, good on the power play, good shot, good hockey IQ, good team guy, good on and off the ice. I have to be honest, I was a little worried that the Canadians would be able to sign him before Kent Hughes, his advisor, got there. If Kent Hughes wasn't there, I kind of wonder if we'd even be talking about Jordan Harris. But luckily we are. I think he'll be a factor for them. I think he's more of a second-pairing defenseman, and that's fine. He's a good one, man. I mean, college hockey, there's the best thing that ever comes out of college hockey most of the time into the NHL are the defensemen. If you notice, it's more defensemen than forwards. Some of the forwards are high end, and then there's a lot of lower level forwards. But defense is very solid, and it may be a lot of mid-level talent, like second and third pairings, because it is hard to get those first pairing guys in any league. But I do think there's a lot of them that come out, and more have come out over the years, because that league's physical, because you have to play a certain way, or the coaches get on you. Remember, the coaches are really powerful in college hockey. Like, they have a lot of sway. For as little sway as Ducharme had in your market, coaches in college hockey have all the sway. So players do learn a lot, though, from these guys, because they not only do they teach them about things on the ice, but they really do lead them off the ice a lot more than what an NHL coach might do with a younger player, because he just doesn't have the time.
I don't know. I'm a old guy, so for me, it's like what I love now is those young men Like I listening yesterday, Jordan Harris for 20 minutes, I believe, on the press conference, right? How so much smooth talking, or they're open up. They're not afraid to do the right thing or the wrong thing. They're not on the guard. They open up. They can talk about their dog. They can talk about anything.
Yep.
It just blew my mind how much they are so much better now. It's fun to watching them, to listening them, and I because it was really the first time I listened Jordan Harris, and they're pretty good. Great question in the chat, and I love to have you here. Is like two players, but the same signification. Joshua Roy for the QM and Sherbrooke Phoenix, and then the teammate of Jordan Harris, Jaden Strobel. My question about both are the same thing. They perform really good for the last, a lot of expectation for who have first round pick in QM 4 years ago. They've been now for 4 years. They're going to be the 4 years next season. Montreal, they're going to bring to training camp. I don't see them to make the camp. They don't make, But my point is, Joshua Roy have to return in QM. Is it not good for his development? It's same thing with Jaden. He's not know he's going to resign or not, whether he's going to sign or stay over there. What is the best for their development? Maybe separate both players right now, but give us a little bit an idea what they should do or what it would be their best for the development.
Well, Struble, I think he might be in his third year, so I would leave him because he's a more of a defensive defenseman. He's a good skater. He can play tough. I like his hockey IQ. I think he is a very good player, but I think he does need a little bit more development. So I would tend to say that it might be better if he stays in college one more year. There's going to start being a trend here where some guys may stay 5 years now, because you could go and basically play there as a graduate student. They do it a lot in NCAA football. And now we're starting to see it a little bit more in hockey. So, a guy like Struble, don't rush him. Now, who's the other player? Did you say Audette?
Joshua Roy just signed yesterday from the Montreal. He played like a couple of years with Sherbrooke Phoenix, the best scorer right now in QM.
Okay, based on the pronunciation, I don't think I know who you're talking about.
Okay.
So, sorry.
No, that's all right. Not big deal.
I don't know everybody in the queue, that's for sure. I can tell you that.
I can give you.
Okay.
Here we go.
Oh, John, I don't know him. I don't know.
You don't know him. All right. Same time we talk about him. Why not talking about Jake Sanderson?
Yeah. Jake Sanderson. I was so impressed when I saw him in World Junior Camp. I was like, my God, this guy has made like massive jumps in his game. He is one of the smartest defensemen. I think that's in his draft, but also in the last 5 years. He's a great skater. He really doesn't make mistakes. The hockey IQ is off the charts. He's very good on the power play. He's not super offensive, but will definitely get his points because he's a great passer and definitely a good puck distributor on the power play with a decent shot. But overall, he could really change the fortunes of the blue line for Ottawa, because they don't really have anybody like him. Like Shabbat was always great offensively, was always okay defensively. They always sort of needed this kind of guy, and now they've got it. So Sanderson is massive for them.
He's a great hockey player, both ways players. I just love this kid. I really believe he can be there. Strobel is going to be his 4th year next season in NCAA. Is it?
Yeah.
Is it better for him? I know you answered, but is it better for him? Will you be better to go in the American Hockey League to play against the men and to develop better? Or his development will be faster if he's jumping next year, the upcoming year?
I still would rather leave him where he is, because in college hockey, you could work out and get stronger in season, where you really can't do that in the AHL with the amount of games that they have. And I'd like to just see him just round out his game a little more. The worry is a lot of times when you put a guy and let him go back for the 4th year, then they all of a sudden become a free agent. Maybe they don't want to sign with your team. But this is the Canadians. I think the Canadians have a lot of opportunity for him. And I think if Hughes just, chats with him and says, hey, opportunities here, we'll chat with you when you're done with your college season, I think it's still better for him to stay there. I do.
Absolutely right about that. I just want to complete with Joshua, well, not for you, but for the people in the
Yeah.
fence.
Yes.
Because he's 18 years old, he was drafted last season. He have to return unfortunately with it. He cannot play in an American Hockey League. He have to go back the junior unfortunately. Whatsoever is good or bad for him, he have no choice. He have no, at least if he make the NHL Montreal, it's not going to happen next season unfortunately. So he have to get return over there. Before we leave, and I know I extra a little bit more minute with you, but I want to talk about the NHL 2022 draft. And maybe give us a little bit your top 5, or talk about what's going on and what you expect, and maybe talk about Wright, Slavkovsky, Cooley, or Kiki, whatever you want to talk about, your top 5, or what you expect what's coming next year.
Well, I'm going to pull the top 5 off of my list on sportsology.com. I'm going to come out with a new list, I would think, within a week. So this is version 2.0 that's on there. I'll put a 3.0. I'll probably put a 3 and a 3.5 for another website that I write for, Full Press. I have Wright number 1. I don't think there's any dispute about that. I interviewed Shane Wright for EP Ringside last month. I really think the kid's a terrific player. I think people who are trying to poke holes in his game or trying to say that, maybe he's not as good as they thought he was, I think they're just, bored with life and should look at his all-around game and his leadership. Logan Cooley is the guy I have number 2 at the moment over Matthew Savoy. I kind of go back and forth with both of them. I really like them both. Cooley, I think he's probably a little better suited for NHL play a little sooner than Savoy. And it's not because Savoy is smaller, but I think just Savoy probably does need to work on his all-around game a little more. I think Cooley's got a pretty good handle on the two-way game. They're both really fast guys. They're both capable of scoring big goals and playmaking. Savoy may be the little bit of a better playmaker, but Cooley is a very driven kid, and he takes criticism really well and has gotten a lot better in the last year. I'm a big Jiricek fan. I think he's in that top 5. Slavkovsky's in that top 5. And then I'm a little lower than some of the others on Connor Geekie, because I think while he is tremendously skilled and has great skating, I do think there's some things he could do when he's 6'4" that some others can't get away with. And so I do kind of wonder how that changes his numbers a little bit. But the talent's there. I like Savoy better. I just think he is a little more dynamic of a player, and so maybe there's a higher shot at the ceiling where Geekie's a very safe pick for sure. Like you could see he's going to be an NHLer. So that I think that's where maybe the debate probably lies with him. My next guy after that, and again, I may have another list that's slightly different than this one, but I'm just reading you from this one. I like Lekaramaki a lot with Djurgården, and I think he doesn't get talked about enough. I know Kemmel gets talked about a lot, but I have Lekaramaki ahead of him a little bit because I just feel like he has a little bit more to offer in the all-around game, and I think his offense has a high ceiling that hasn't fully been reached yet, because again, I don't think he's getting top power play or anything like that where he's playing. That kind of stuff really takes a while for those young players to earn it. So, early on, that's where I'm looking. And then, there's a guy named Zach Bookman who I'm starting to do a lot of work on with the Bandits of the AJHL. He scored 102 points. I can't ignore that as a defenseman. He broke all of Cale Makar's records. So I always look at these high-end guys, and I always look at outliers too, and then decide, because when I do rankings, it's not where I think they're going to be picked. It's just where I think they're going to stand up over time in that draft.
Your best defenseman in draft 2022 is?
Jiricek.
All right.
Jiricek, if he didn't get hurt, he was going to have like a massive World Juniors. It was, if the World Juniors was going to continue, you could see he was just unbelievable. Great skater, good vision, terrific shot, good hockey body. Yeah, I really like Jiricek a lot.
Montreal selects second or third. Give me your two choice for if they select for second and they select third.
Yeah, see, second is the worst pick in the draft because you're going to, Shane Wright's going first, and then you're going to toil over who goes second. And that's how this draft is going to be a little bit. So I don't know. If I'm Montreal, am I drafting best guy available? Am I drafting what my needs are? If I had to do it, I kind of feel like I still would go with Cooley for them because I still think they need that really good all-around center type. They don't really, Suzuki is the one guy. They need another guy. And if Cooley's not a top line guy and turns into a great second line guy because you have Suzuki and he's in his way, that's fine. I think that would be the best way to go. Now, if it's third, it's interesting because, me personally, I like Savoy a lot. I can make the argument for Jiricek, though, and, that's where Montreal has to sort of decide, hey, we could put him in the AHL right away. So that's, because he's playing against men already. So that's a way to get a prospect over a little quicker. You can see what he looks like in Laval, right? And then looking at the defense on Montreal, Petrie aside, because he's definitely declining a little bit, they kind of do need another stud defenseman. They really do. And I think this is a way of so I think if they go third, I could see Jiricek being that guy. Honestly, they could still pick him second too. If they just decide that's our need and they take it, I would never say anything disparaging. It's the same way when Columbus went with Dubois and they picked him higher than they thought. And they said, hey, we did this because we believe he could be a center. Well, they were right. He is a center. He worked really hard on it. So
what I can hear from you is Cooley over Savoy.
I'm still going to go towards Cooley right now. It took a little while. I was saying Savoy, but you're probably right with Savoy. I'm bad with pronunciations.
I don't worry about that pronunciation.
I apologize to his family. No, but I'm just saying, I think early on I was with him, and then I think Cooley just opened my eyes a little bit more. Like, Savoy has been great all along. He didn't do anything wrong.
Yeah.
I just think Cooley has shown me a little bit more of what he is to have me put him ahead of him right now.
Yep, absolutely right about that. And then do you suggest, like, what do you see Slafkovsky? I know you have a great Olympics. He's great over there. I love him a lot. I do my own top, he was my second at some point. I draw him a little bit. But where do you see him? Top 5 for sure, and maybe top 3?
Top 5. Definitely top 5. Especially now that we seem to be getting back to an era where teams want size. Well, he does have size and skill and speed. And so, that's a guy where I do believe he'll be able to get to the net because of his stick skills. He gets around defensemen at a pretty good rate at the level he's at, and I'm sure he can ratchet that up as he gets physically stronger. He's physically strong to a point already, but we know he doesn't probably have his man strength yet. And so I think, when that happens, he'll be dangerous. You see he's got a great shot. He does have that sniper ability. He showed some of that in the Olympics where people were kind of seeing him for the first time. And so, listen, you take Slafkovsky third, I'm not going to argue with you.
Yeah, of course. Did you follow a lot Kaden Cooley?
Yes. And I did just interview him right before the World Juniors. I was very impressed. I was always impressed with his skating and physical ability, right? Like, all that aside, that's terrific. But he's never going to be a high offensive player like a guy like Jiricek, and that's why I was saying a guy like Jiricek could really be like that other piece for them. But Gooley's going to get his points because, again, he's a really good passer. He's smart. He can play the power play. I think his shot's okay. I don't think it's anything special. But the physical nature with the speed that he has and the leadership ability he has, like, this guy will go through a wall for anybody. And I felt like he displayed great leadership as being the captain for Canada and, trying to, like, as an older player on that team, again, World Juniors got canceled, but all pre-World Juniors, he was really doing a good job of leading and trying to set an example on and off the ice. And I think that's the kind of guy you want there in Montreal. I think they need more of that. And that's good because, at some point your team will be, fairly young for a little while. And so, like, a guy like Cooley, when he comes in, even though he may be, 22 or 3, whatever, when he's there, he's mentally past that already. And so he's a very mature kid. I'm impressed with him.
He's a really good about that one there for sure. I try to imagine, is it enough because they have Cooley, they have Norlander, they have Jordan Harris. They're all left defensemen. Now they have Barron on the right defenseman. We talk about Jiricek, Nemec, and then now they have Savoy, Cooley, and Slafkovsky.
Yeah.
Is it more rare to get a right defenseman, versus a center or a Slavkovsky or the foot, they maybe say, you know what, we have to go what we need and maybe more a center?
Well, I think sometimes everybody gets a little too carried away with the left side and the right side stuff. There are guys that definitely can change. It's never easy for the younger players, but a lot of times these veterans can do it. And so I don't get overly worried about matching up that left side, right side thing early on, because I do think coaches can get guys to overcome the barrier. Like as an example, and I don't know if it's going to work, Cam York's playing the right side right now for Philly, first time in his career at the NHL level. And, you know, he's pulling it off to some degree. Is that going to be smart long-term? Maybe not. But you might find a guy like Gouli could play either side. You know, you might find one of your defensemen that can do that, and then you don't worry about the rest as much.
Pavel Mentyukov. Or Mentyukov, whatever his last name.
Mentyukov.
What do you think about him?
I like him. I think the skating's there. He's really good offensively. I don't think there's much wrong with his game. I think I kind of look at him as like a second pairing kind of guy. I think that's what he'll be. But really good. I've got him around 18 in that first 20. I think he's a very good player. I don't know what's the Leafs' first round situation like. How many do they have?
Are you familiar with the bottom, the first round?
Yeah.
All right. Montreal pick about 28, 29. Depends what Calgary finish, honestly, right? We have Marco Kasper. We have possible, like, you know, Jack Hughes, his son, who is going to be over there. Tristan Junot, a defenseman over there. If you're Montreal's 28, 29, whatsoever, you don't know what could happen, what would be someone you should Montreal pick at that area?
Yeah, actually, you know that Hughes is no relation to the other Hugheses, that Jack Hughes. Like, he did play for the NTDP2 for a little while, and he's in college, but different Jack Hughes. I like him a lot. I think he could be a good NHLer. I don't think he's more than a second liner. Kasper, there probably is a little bit more of an upside, but I kind of feel like he's a hit and miss kind of guy. I think with him, it's kind of like there's these flashes where he does show good acceleration, good playmaking ability, a good shot. Will he put it all together? I don't know. I'm going to give you one too. I just interviewed Jordan Gustafson, and that article will be up on EP Ringside soon. And his teammate, Kevin Korchinski, I have at 29. This guy is running the power play. He is terrific offensively, excellent skater. Apparently the work ethic is off the charts. One of the first guys on, last guys off is what, you know, Jordan was telling me. So that could be a guy where, you know, you're looking for like a second power play guy, but also a really good puck mover and a guy who could add some offense from the blue line. If they don't get a Juracek, you might want to look at him.
Yeah, that's a great way to do that for sure about this. We passed the time. I want to give you about 3-4 minutes about this. Two things. First of all, if the people would like to know more about the prospect and that, but one you really bold, I think, for you and your eyes. I know a lot of people can join you. I understand that, but you know, like,
oh, you like my eyes because they're blue. They used to be bluer, but okay. I'm glad you like my eyes. Thank you.
Which one do you looking more when you go on the online for prospect example?
So I do like being live more, but, you know, I had to learn some other techniques because of the pandemic, and I have been able to use a service called Instat, and I use them because of EP Ringside. They have it, and it's really good. I mean, I can watch full games, but a lot of different shifts, and those kinds of things are really valuable. Sometimes the shifts are more valuable than the actual game, especially if you're just trying to look at one player. So I appreciate all those things, those ISOs that, you know, teams get to see. I feel like you could do a lot of damage with that, but I do feel like you need to be there to match it up. And then I do that third thing where I like to talk to these guys. I like to find out, because, like, as an example, Cooley has played a lot of left wing and a lot of center. And so it's like, you know, a lot of people just think he's going to be on the wing, and it's like, hold on there, because, you know, he's worked on his faceoffs a lot, and they've used him both ways, and he's done it for a couple of years now. He just doesn't do it a lot. So a lot of times people will go see him, and you know, and they'll see him, and he's playing on the wing, but he plays center and can play center. And so I learn a lot of things like that from players themselves. And a lot of times I will ask players about other players because it's really helpful, because especially when you get ones that are like just really on top of it, they could tell you a lot and they can give you a lot of good information.
Absolutely right about that. I've been very big fans of the Instat, and I follow everything there, so I know what you're talking about. Last one, 2023. Better, Mikov. What your expectation? We have another one now playing. He's going to be maybe with Michigan next season. Is that the defenseman?
Yeah, it's Jack. I'm forgetting his last name now.
Filipinatini or something like that. But I know what I'm talking about. What do you expect? If you have a choice right now, Mikov or Bedard?
It's still Bedard, especially with the potential problems that there might be for a player coming out of Russia the next 2-3 years even. We don't know how that's going to play out. We're going to find out a little bit more about that with this draft and see what the world brings us with that. But I think Bedard's still the guy. I don't want to go too far in that draft, but I do know the player you're talking about, and I haven't looked at the 23 stuff in a while, but he played with the Chicago Steel. I think that's who you're talking about, and he's really good. He could be third too.
Yeah, I expect with DB, we're really interesting for 2023. Last question. I know it's going to be a tough one. What do you expect for the playoff? Who do you pick? Maybe not only the winner of the Stanley Cup, but maybe the top 3 team, 4 team we expect to be at the end of this race of the playoff 2022.
Right. So preseason, I was asked, and sometimes I hate getting asked early because you never know whether there's going to be injuries or last minute additions. But I was asked preseason, and I picked Florida, and I picked Minnesota, and I got a rise out of some guys on XM with the Minnesota pick. I'm sticking with those two to be in the Stanley Cup. But I think along the way, I really do think in the East now that the Rangers might be the team that gets there. And maybe they're going to be the team that faces Florida. I still think if that matchup happens, it's a long series, but I'm still going with Florida. All the things they did, Giroux, everything else. And I love what Minnesota did. Just so many different moves, but even a guy like Delorier, like that, he's made a big difference with them too. So all the things that way. The other team in the West, I'm kind of up in the air about. It's almost like one of those things where I'm like waiting to see, because I know Vegas has talent, and if they get everybody together and Eichel starts playing a little better, they could easily go on a run and get there. I don't think there's any issue about that. Calgary could certainly get there. I don't have as much faith in the Kings. I guess we'll put Calgary there just because they're sort of on that track. But I still wouldn't count Vegas out. It's just hard to project them, not knowing what's going to happen with Stone.
If they can go to make it also.
If they make it,
they make it also.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So that'll be very interesting. But first of all, you better to me. For some reason, I put the Islanders, the winner of the Stanley Cup. So just give you an idea, I was completely wrong about that one over there. On the left
Listen,
side,
we all make terrible picks. Like, this is a year where it's working out. And last year, I did pick Montreal preseason to make it to the Cup. But then again, and I was probably laughed at a lot. But, I've been massively wrong before, too.
Yeah, this one always hurt me for this year. But, you never know. The injury play really a big major role in during those predictions, everything like that. And also the COVID-19 has been always been the last 2 years, whatever you are an expert or not, everybody can pick it up because the COVID make a lot of big change out of that. First of all, I want to say, Russ, it's always an honor to having you, but I'm mad at myself because I believe I cannot wait 1 year anymore to get you. I would love to have you again more quick, faster, better at some point. Maybe one time before during the playoff, before we met each other again in Montreal. I think that'd be great. You bring a lot of set, and I just loved talking to you. You've been so many experience in hockey, everything like that. So hopefully you will accept to come back at some point and join the playoff with us. I can't wait to see you again, my friend.
Yeah, no, listen, anytime. I always have fun. Happy to, talk to your audience and answer the questions and come on your show. So, yeah, just invite me and we'll work it in the schedule.
That'd be awesome. Thanks again, Russ. We wish you. And I put a description. I think I put sportsology.com. Sportsology.
Yep.
Do you have any other location you want me to add? Please email, text me on my Twitter. I will put that on the description. And that'd be awesome if you don't mind to do it. So we thank you again, Mr. Russ. We wish you an amazing, great day. And I can't wait to see you next time.
Yep, same here. Take care.
All right.
Thanks for
having
having
me. Have a good
me.
one, Russ. It was, ladies and gentlemen, it was Russ Cohen for the Sportsology. Bring a couple of in about that. You guys, you may be tired to hear me every day, all the time. Maybe it's great to have other voice, other expert talking about how kids find subject, everything like that. If I did not ask a lot of you questions, it's because I try to limit it's fun question about what is the more interesting for each one of you. I know Danny talk about Ammon and Renaud talk about some other subject, and you know I try to limit everything, but hopefully this will give you another perspective of what the NHL draft's coming for 2022. It's fun thing what they're looking for, what they want to accomplish for the next couple of weeks, and of course we're going to be back tonight at 5 o'clock. 6 o'clock with Mr. Enotap talking about the next 9-game prediction tonight on NHL. We'll be live also with the Hockey Initial Show live stream, play-by-play at 7 o'clock, watching the Montreal Canadiens. Tonight they are and Carolina Hurricanes. So there was different show. Hopefully you enjoy it. Please, if you want to hear more of those guests bring here on the table, let me know. You're the only one make that show better by your feedback. I feel like you guys, you're on the old. Don't hesitate to reach me, tell me, hey, Coach, we would love to have this. Hey, Coach, I would love to go that way. I will do this. I will listen each one of your feedback to make that show better, because without you, this is impossible. And how I cannot be more grateful about Russ to be a part of the show today. And I can't wait to bring another one so far, the next one. So until then, my friend, we want to thank each one of you. No friendship quiz today. It's already late, and I will keep those 3 questions because they are really good for tomorrow for another morning show. Until then, my friend, we want to wish you an amazing, great day. But we want to tell you one more thing.
You are awesome. You are amazing. You are the best. And remember, you have greatness inside of you.
Yes, you are greatness inside of you. Yes, you are amazing. But the most important thing we want to remind you, be well, be healthy, find a way not only to dominate your day. Like in our time we said to you, find a way to dominate. What Mr. Natapi we said 2022. Have an amazing, great afternoon, everybody.
What do I know?